Elysium Accord Station hung silent above the binary suns of the Seraphis system, its circular form glinting like a celestial coin. Within its central diplomatic chamber, species from 14 star-faring civilizations gathered, each bearing centuries of grudges, losses, and territorial ambitions. But none carried a heavier presence than the Krell. The council chamber was built for balance, polished obsidian floors, arcing bronze walls, and tiered seating arranged in concentric rings. Every species had equal view of the central dais, a place where words had more weight than weapons. Until now, Elias Rain entered without fanfare. A lean, dark-suited man with an unreadable face. He walked with hands clasped behind his back, eyes scanning not with curiosity, but calculation. The chamber noticed. Whispers sparked. Subtle glances shifted his way. Humanity's representative, they murmured. The one who doesn't blink. He took his seat at the Terran Republic's designated section, a simple, elevated platform marked by an iron-etched sigil of Earth. A diplomatic aide leaned in. The Krell flagship just docked. Veiled tours on board. Elias gave a curt nod. Let them enter. The chamber lights dimmed. A deep, metallic gong rang once. Then the doors opened. The Krell were giants. Stone-skinned, tusked, armored in iridescent boneplate. 6 Death Guards entered first. Twin axes crossed at their backs. Then came King Veiltor, massive, crowned with curved obsidian horns, and draped in crimson gold robes that swept the floor like spilled blood. He stopped at the center dais, gazing at the gathered assembly with scorn. "I speak not for conversation," Veiltor said, voice rumbling like tectonic plates shifting. "I speak for conquest." The chamber stirred. A Hyderi delegate clicked its mandibles in alarm. The Arakan ambassador quietly activated a translation dampener. Veiltor continued. "The Terrans have violated Krell borders. Our son, General Cotter, was slain by their fleets near Atari Prime." Elias said nothing. "Your species is clever," Veiltor went on, pacing slowly around the dais. "But cleverness is not strength. We offer you a single choice, unconditional surrender. All colonies, all fleets, and all resources will be absorbed into the Krell Dominion." The silence was total. Then, from across the chamber, a thin voice, Avid Sorrel, the Thallon senator, spoke. "This is a diplomatic summit. Such demands violate the Galactic Peace Accords." Veiltor turned to him with a slow smile. "Then the Accords are dead." Elias finally rose. He stepped to the edge of his platform, hands still behind his back, gaze fixed on the Krell King. "You want our surrender." Veiltor's grin widened. "You understand. No negotiation? No mercy." Elias looked at the council. "And if we decline? War. Swift. Total. Your bones will line our corridors." The council erupted, voices in dozens of languages, overlapping demands, pleas, and condemnations. The Hyderi called for immediate arbitration. The Strixian envoy urged sanctions. The Ziran delegation simply left. Elias remained motionless. A flicker of disappointment passed through his eyes, quickly buried. The Krell King stepped closer, towering over the platform. "Will you kneel now, human?" Elias's reply was quiet. "No." A breathless stillness followed. Veiltor chuckled. "Then you have one cycle to reconsider." He turned and exited the chamber, flanked by his guards, his threat hanging like smoke in a sealed room. The council session dissolved into chaos. Back in the Terran quarters, Elias stood alone, facing the observation glass. The stars outside seemed indifferent. Behind him, his aide approached cautiously. "Sir, we have no fleet strong enough to counter a full Krell assault, not without losing core worlds." "I know. They'll strike first, hit civilian lines. They want panic." "I know," Elias repeated. The aide hesitated, then lowered his voice. "The device, it's ready," Elias said. He turned slowly. "Does the council suspect?" "Not yet, but surveillance is tight. If you move too soon..." "I won't." He stepped toward a secure diplomatic case, placed in the corner, disguised as a standard comms relay, unlocked with a retinal scan and a 6-finger pressure sequence. The case opened silently. Inside, a matte black ring no wider than a coin. Smooth, featureless, undetectable by known scanners. Elias stared at it, then closed the case again. He didn't believe in unnecessary death, but he believed in consequences. The Krell wanted submission. Humanity could not afford it. He sat down alone and activated a secure link. A face appeared, Director Merrick of Terran Strategic Command. Authorization? Merrick asked. Rain. Delta Zeta Directive. Confirm. The director's eyes narrowed. You're activating it? Elias didn't blink. If he forces my hand tomorrow. Understood. No witnesses, no traces, and no deniability issues. There won't be, not with this method. Merrick gave a single nod, then cut the link. Elias leaned back. His mind drifted, unbidden, to the first time he killed. Not in war, but in silence, when a corrupted planetary governor tried selling Terran children to the highest alien bidder. No weapons, just a quiet room and a single permanent decision. This was different, but not unfamiliar. He whispered into the dark. Sometimes peace needs blood. The Krell warship blood wound loomed outside Elysium Accord Station, a jagged monument of brutality. Through the council chamber's domed ceiling, it cast a shadow long and deliberate, like a blade poised above glass. Inside, unrest brewed. Elias Rain walked the East Observation Wing, a curved corridor built from translucent alloy. A dozen alien envoys moved in clusters nearby, hushed conversations breaking with occasional glances in his direction. They were waiting for a human reaction. A misstep. A weakness. None came. A Hydri ambassador approached, its four thin legs clicking softly, voice chirping in rapid pulses translated through a hovering drone. You will surrender, yes? Your species cannot survive frontal Krell attack. Probability exceeds 90%. Elias shook his head once. Probability bends under pressure. The Hydri made a nervous chitter and retreated. Two others, a pair of feline-skinned Auric diplomats, whispered as he passed. He let them talk. Every word spoken about him added weight to the silence he carried. Back at the Terran quarters, his aide, Keller, met him with a grim look. Sat Intel confirms multiple Krell fleets en route. Not just a bluff. 2 already jumped near Vanna. 9. Civilian exodus underway. Time left. Less than 20 Earth hours. Elias scanned the room. Holographic star maps flickered across the walls. Red lines branching from Krell systems tore human borders like veins infected with war. Still, his voice remained level. Status of our defensive grid? Holding, but stretched. If the Krell strike at 3 fronts, we'll lose at least 2 outer colonies. And the Council? Keller snorted. They're paralyzed. Everyone's terrified. The Arakan are already evacuating their delegation. No one wants to pick a side before blood spilled. Elias moved toward the encrypted case again. His hand hovered over it, but didn't open it. Not yet. You sure? Keller asked. If they strike first. They won't, Elias said quietly. Vale Tor wants a spectacle. He'll wait for the summit tomorrow. He wants submission delivered in front of council. He wants to humiliate us before he kills us. Keller nodded. Then you'll have to give him something. Elias's eyes narrowed. I will. Later that cycle, Elias entered the diplomatic arboretum, a neutral garden reserved for off-record conversations. The air smelled of ironwood and Krell ozone. They'd been here recently. Waiting in the center was a Tren, the Arakan envoy. Tall, luminescent, and clad in layers of translucent robes, a Tren offered the rarest commodity in the galaxy, impartial wisdom. You've been quiet, the Arakan said, because noise doesn't solve this. Some would say silence has caused it. Elias offered no defense. A Tren studied him. You intend to provoke Vale Tor? No. I intend to finish the conversation he started. By speaking or acting? Elias said nothing. That was answer enough. A Tren sighed. I admire your restraint. Human. But do not mistake admiration for endorsement. If you move against him in this chamber, you will shift the balance of the stars. Better a shift than collapse. A long pause. Then the Arakan leaned in slightly. Do it cleanly. Hours passed. The station dimmed its lights to mimic nighttime. Elias sat alone in his quarters, reading the final reports. Civilians in transit. Blackwatch operatives embedded at 3 fallback locations. Command authorization, remain green. He opened the case. The black ring gleamed faintly, absorbing the light rather than reflecting it. The device was inert for now. Its activation required a triple-sequence thought pattern paired with a biometric pulse. Impossible to hack. Impossible to trace. It had no projectile, no visible effect. It operated on a frequency designed not for machines, but biology, specifically Krell neurology, a resonance weapon tuned to their skull cavities, their neural resonance. It would not kill loudly. It would disrupt, collapse internal structures, and leave the body untouched. No explosion, no evidence, a kill that no one could detect, and no court could convict. A diplomat's bullet. He set it back inside the case and stood. The following morning, the council reconvened. The chamber lights were lower than usual, shadowed by the presence of warships outside. Every delegate carried tension like armor, some hoping for compromise, others fearing its cost. Vale Tor entered last, his death guards leaving dents in the floor with each step. He didn't bow. He didn't wait. He strode directly to the center and raised his voice. The cycle ends. Do you kneel? No one else spoke. All eyes turned to the human platform. Elias Rain rose, straight-backed, expression unreadable. He descended the steps and walked to the edge of the council circle. Not quite into the center, but close enough to make it clear this was personal. I have no crown to kneel with, he said, nor a leash to wear. Vale Tor snorted. Then you have chosen extinction. I've chosen warning. The Krell king stiffened. You threaten me, little ape? No. Elias's voice sharpened just slightly. I inform you. He held up a thin datapad. A projection flickered above it. A map of Krell military lines. Red clusters, timelines, supply chains, weaknesses. Every move your fleets make. Every outpost vulnerable to collapse. We've watched you longer than you think. If you strike, we will not fight for survival. We will dismantle you. You cannot. You've mistaken quiet for weakness, Elias said. But silence is what comes before the quake. For a moment, it felt like the chamber might erupt. But then Vale Tor grinned. Nice words. Empty. You gamble with shadows, diplomat. I bring ships. Elias stepped back toward his platform. He didn't argue. He didn't need to. Tomorrow was still within reach. And when it came, one of them would not leave breathing. Not the diplomatic kind. The still, ceremonial quiet that cloaked consequence. The kind that came before irreversible things. Above Elysium Accord Station, the Krell warship blood womb shifted slightly in orbit, its weapons powered but not armed. A message in restraint. Or arrogance. Inside the council chamber, no one moved until the gong sounded. Once, then twice, then finally, 3 times, a summons. King Vale Tor arrived draped in obsidian. No crimson robes today. Just dark ceremonial armor and a carved shoulder mantle, made from the bones of something that once ruled a moon. Behind him, his death guards marched in formation. Their axes remained sheathed. Another message. He had no fear. The council sat in concentric stillness. All delegates present. Even the Arakan had returned, not in hope, but to witness history. Elias Rain stood before the Terran platform, alone. No aides, no armor, just the same tailored black suit and a small, circular case placed discreetly beneath the panel before him. He didn't touch it. Yet. Vale Tor spoke first, voice low but projected across the chamber. Last chance, human. Submit, and your species may serve with dignity under Krell law. Elias stepped forward, eyes fixed on the towering warlord. We decline. Murmurs rippled through the rings. The Hydery delegate hissed. The Strixian clacked its mandibles. A low thrum of fear passed between species. Vale Tor tilted his head. You condemned your people. No, Elias replied, calm as steel. I've accepted your terms. You gave us a choice. We made it. You choose extinction? We choose consequence. Veil Tor grinned, spreading his arms. Then die as fools. Elias raised one hand. I asked for final words. The council hesitated. Then the presiding Ziran moderator nodded once. Granted. Elias walked slowly toward the central dais. He didn't raise his voice. He didn't shout. He simply began to speak. For 2 centuries, humanity has expanded not through dominance, but through grit. We've outlived extinction not by force, but by will. We learned to speak before we struck. We offered treaties before territories. We traded before taking. And that has been mistaken for weakness. He paused, locking eyes with Veil Tor. You see us as prey, but we are a species born from fire, sharpened by famine, raised in ruin. You don't win against that kind of thing. Not for long. The Krell King scoffed. Empty words. Elias didn't flinch. You believe your size and your ships give you dominion. But let me show you something. He tapped the datapad embedded into the podium. A silent projection unfolded in the air, not of maps, not of fleets, but of cities, Krell cities. Every critical infrastructure, node glowing red. Every orbital hub mapped. Supply chains, troop movements, fuel depots, encrypted comms lines, all tracked. Elias continued. This data has been collected across 74 cycles, by thousands of eyes, not one soldier among them. You never saw them. You didn't think to look. He deactivated the projection. This is not a threat. It's a mirror. We saw you coming long before your ships moved. Veil Tor's eyes narrowed. His fist flexed. You dare. I dare nothing, Elias interrupted. But I will end something. He stepped back to his platform. The room stilled again. No one saw him reach below the desk. His fingers brushed the cold edge of the black ring. It slid smoothly into his palm. He slipped it onto his finger. Then he activated it with a blink and a breath. There was no sound, no flash, just the shimmer in the air, like heat on a desert horizon. Invisible unless you were looking for it. Veil Tor froze mid-step. His mouth opened. No sound emerged. His body shuddered. Not visibly. Internally. Subtly. Then he dropped. Not like a beast defeated. More like a tower missing its foundation. The floor trembled slightly from the impact. The Krell King's body lay still. Unmarked. Unmoving. Dead. The room exploded in motion. Death Guard surged forward. Weapons half-raised before the Council's planetary defense systems triggered red targeting beams on them all. They stopped. Elias didn't move. He didn't need to. The Ziran moderator stood. Security. Containment Protocol 7. No party leaves this chamber. Screams. Accusations. Panic in 16 languages. Elias watched the chaos unfold with the same expressionless calm. The arrogant envoy turned to him. What did you do? Elias responded quietly. I fulfilled a choice. Council investigators rushed in. Drones scanned the floor. Veil Tor's body showed no trauma. No poison. No external interference. Natural causes, one of the medbots whispered, confused. Neural collapse. Complete biofeedback shutdown. No stimuli. Impossible. The Krell guards demanded vengeance. The council demanded clarity. Elias remained seated. You were seen touching nothing, said the Strixian envoy. The room shows no evidence. Because there is none, Elias answered. He stood once more, straightened his cuffs. We came for peace. We were met with ultimatum. This is not war. This is prevention. No one spoke. The Hyderi delegate whispered into its translator, Humans are worse than we feared. Elias turned toward the exit. I'll send you our updated terms by morning. He walked out, alone, behind him. The chamber stood frozen, the scent of death clinging to silence. Red lights pulsed across Elysium Accord Station, automated defenses locking down every corridor near the council chamber. Krell guards roared in protest, axes half-drawn, faces twisted in rage. But no one moved. Not until the planetary security systems calibrated every Krell body in the room as a potential target. The Death Guards hesitated. They were bred for war, not diplomacy. And this wasn't a battlefield. King Veltor's corpse remained untouched in the center of the dais, eyes open, body intact, skin unbroken, as if someone had pressed a button and simply shut him off. Council med drones hovered in silence, scanning again and again. Results didn't change. No poison, no wound, no cause, only a flatline signal and a hollowed core where neural activity used to be. The Ziran moderator's voice cut through the tension. Station protocols confirmed no foreign weapon was deployed. No detectable energy spike. No unauthorized technology. She turned to Elias. How did you do it? Elias didn't answer. He remained at the edge of the chamber, hands clasped behind his back, eyes fixed on the body of the warlord. The Arakan envoy stepped forward, face unreadable beneath its translucent facial veils. There will be consequences for this human. Elias looked at him calmly. There already were. The Krell delegation snarled, but without a voice to command them, they were wild dogs behind glass. One lunge, and the station's internal defense grid responded instantly. A silent pulse froze in mid-step. He dropped to the floor, alive but paralyzed. Enough! The Strixien envoy snapped. We are here to avoid war, not scatter across the stars. The council chambers began to clear. Slowly, hesitantly, the Krell demanded the body be returned. No one objected, but no one volunteered to touch it either. As the drones lifted Veltor's form into a stasis casket, Elias stepped aside. His hand brushed the inside of his coat. The ring was already gone, tucked into a lead-lined inner pocket. No radiation, no EM signature, no memory, just silence. Keller met him in the corridor outside, pale but composed. What now? Elias answered without breaking stride. We wait. For retaliation? For a fracture? They walked through the ambassadorial wing in silence. Behind them, Krell honor codes collapsed into confusion. A dominion without a monarch was a beast without a spine, dangerous, but directionless. And the dominion knew this. 3 hours later, Elias stood before the secure window of the Terran quarters. The blood womb still hovered above the station, but its posture had changed. No longer angled in aggression. Its full weapons bays had sealed. Engines cycled in standby. They're hesitating, Keller murmured. They're calculating. Elias corrected. A secure transmission flashed across his wrist pad. Encrypted. Earth source. You acted within parameters. Directive upheld. Awaiting your withdrawal. Elias didn't respond. Not yet. Keller stepped beside him. Do you think they'll retaliate? Not if they're smart. And if they're not, then they'll learn why the silent ones are feared. Keller leaned in, voice lower. What was that thing? Elias turned. A tool. Legal? No. Traceable? No. Keller hesitated. Do you regret using it? Elias didn't answer immediately. When a war is stopped before it begins, there's always a cost. It's just measured differently. By cycle's end, the news had already spread beyond the station. Krell Prime transmitted a formal morning decree. No declaration of war. No mobilization. Just silence. Across the galaxy, governments held emergency meetings. Military analysts replayed footage of the summit over and over, searching for the moment something had happened. But all they saw was Elias, standing still, speaking, leaving, a kill without action, a message in stillness. On Elysium Station, the Galactic Council convened behind sealed doors. Debates flared over legality, sovereignty, moral precedent. But no consensus came, because no one could prove anything had been done. That was the brilliance and the terror of it. The Arakan envoy returned to Elias the next morning. You've changed the game. No, Elias replied. I ended one. You understand the implications. I do. They won't forget this. I don't want them to. The Arakan studied him. You didn't just kill a king. You weaponized uncertainty. Elias said nothing. That silence was answer enough. In the diplomatic arboretum, Elias met with the Zirin moderator one last time. The station had cleared of unnecessary personnel. A withdrawal was already underway. "Are you resigning?" the moderator asked. "I was never here to stay. Earth will promote you. Earth will forget me. That's how this works." She gestured to the horizon, stars shifting through the tinted glass. "What happens now? The Krell will splinter. Some will seek revenge. Others, stability. But none will trust each other with a crown. Not for a while. And humanity?" Elias turned to leave. "Will be quiet. For now." That evening, he stood alone in his quarters, the ring in his hand one last time. Its surface was smooth, featureless, perfect, a symbol of what humanity had become, not just adaptable, but precise. He sealed it in a box and coded the lock to burn after one use. Then he placed it in the disposal unit and watched it vanish. No evidence, no copies, no reuse. It had done its work, not with explosions, not with armies, but with restraint. The kind that frightens more than war ever could. No declaration was made. No banners fell. But the signal stopped. Centralized command flickered, then vanished. Border patrols splintered into war bands, each claiming temporary control, none daring to ascend the throne. The great dominion that once thundered to the stars now whispered in fragments. On Earth, celebrations were brief. The news of human diplomacy prevailing was filtered and sterilized. There was no mention of the method, no record of a device, no footage that revealed Elias Rain moving. The official story was simple. King Veiltor collapsed of natural causes during summit proceedings. And Elias Rain? He disappeared. No interviews, no commendations, no promotion. Just gone. He resurfaced on Varelian, a quiet water moon orbiting a dead gas giant. Sparse population. No military presence. A place built for forgetting. He took a small house on a cliff above the southern sea. Alone. No visitors. No mirrors. Each day, he walked the same path along the tide's edge. Each night, he stood on the balcony, watching stars spin across the sky, some of them carrying ghosts of consequences he'd started. But even ghosts drift. Then came the knock. It was polite. 3 measured taps. Not a soldier's knock. Not political. Elias opened the door. A young woman stood outside. Late 20s, dark hair tied back, Terran diplomatic seal on her chest. Her stance said protocol. Her eyes said something else. Something uncertain. "You're Elias Rain," she said. Not a question. He nodded. "That depends." She handed him a black folio. No markings. No name. He opened it. Inside his file. Everything. Mission clearance. Record of operation. Classified logs. It shouldn't exist. Not anymore. He looked up. "Why bring this?" "Because I'm your replacement," she said. "And I was told to ask you one thing." Elias folded the folio closed. "Ask." She hesitated. Then was it worth it? He didn't answer right away. He stepped back and motioned for her to come in. She did. The interior was bare, a table, a shelf, a kettle cooling on the stove. They sat. "I was trained to study silence," she said. "We all were. After the summit, recruitment doubled. They said you changed diplomacy forever. But they never told us how." Elias looked out the window. "Do you know what Veiltor believed? That peace was weakness. That restraint was submission. He believed silence meant fear. And it doesn't?" "No." Elias's voice was soft. "It means control. It means calculation. Silence isn't the absence of power. It's the containment of it." She watched him. "You didn't kill him with a weapon." "No," Elias agreed. "I killed him with uncertainty." She leaned forward. "Then why vanish?" He smiled faintly. "Because the galaxy doesn't need heroes. It needs doubts. It needs shadows that make threats hesitate. You can't hold that if you stand in the light." A long pause. She reached into her coat and pulled out a small case, not the same as his, but similar, sleek, clean. "They gave me this. Said it was based on your method. Smaller, undetectable. They call it deterrent. Elias didn't touch it. He only stared at it for a moment, then back at her. Have you used it? She shook her head. Not yet. Good. He stood and walked to the balcony. She followed. The ocean was black and calm, stars reflecting off the surface. You think you're ready? He asked. I trained 5 years. Studied hundreds of council transcripts. Learned 8 species negotiation customs. That's not what I meant. She hesitated. Then no, not fully. He nodded once. You'll never be. That's the price. She looked out at the water. How do you carry it? I don't, he said quietly. I set it down every day, and I pick it up again the next. She opened the case and stared at the device. Small, almost beautiful. Can I ask you something else? Yes. If you had to do it again, would you? Elias turned to her. If I had waited, he said, Earth would have burned. We would have lost colonies, generations, our place in the stars. I didn't act for peace. I acted to prevent war from defining us. He paused. But yes, I'd do it again. She closed the case. Elias stepped away from the balcony, eyes scanning the stars one last time. They'll never trust us again, she said. They never did, Elias replied. Now they fear us. That's more useful. She left before dawn. He watched her ship vanish into the cloud line, silent as it came. Later that morning, Elias sat alone with an old, unopened letter. It had arrived weeks earlier. No return seal. Handwritten. He broke the seal. Elias, you were never meant to be a diplomat. That's why it worked. You understood something they never teach in training. That words are not always the answer. Sometimes, presence is louder than language. You will be remembered, not for your name, but for the void you left behind. Merrick, he folded it once and dropped it into the fire. No medals, no legacy, just results. And silence. Across the galaxy, council delegates whispered differently now. Treaties with Earth were drawn slower. Words weighed heavier. And when negotiations grew tense, someone always mentioned Elias' reign, not in threat, in warning, because he never shouted, never threatened. He simply stood. And kings died,